Good morning, students. How are you all? Hope you will be fine and safe and sound at your home, as well as you will be doing your work regularly. This is your geography lesson, and you know that we are reading chapter 2, the Earth's movements. Dear students, we are studying about the Earth's movements. In this connection, we have read about the rotation of the Earth as well as revolution of the Earth. Furthermore, we read what is Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere. Today, we will read the tilt of the Earth causes the different length of day and night, and what is the position of the Earth in relation to the Sun. So we start our lesson. Now come to page number 11 and read this page with me. Here are two pictures, figure 2.6 and figure 2.7. Figure 2.6, the tilt of the Earth causes the different length of day and night, and figure 2.7, the positions of the Earth in relation to the Sun. Let's start reading and I will explain you what is happening here. 3 months later, near September 23rd, the Earth reaches a place in its orbit where neither the North nor the South Pole leans towards the Sun, as in figure 2.7. This day is called the Autumnal Equinox. The northern hemisphere passes into fall after the autumnal equinox. The northern hemisphere gradually leans further away from the Sun, as shown in figure 2.7. Meanwhile, the southern hemisphere leans more towards the Sun. It will be spring in the southern hemisphere. Students, autumnal equinox, two moments in the year when the Sun is exactly above the equator and day and night are of equal length. Day and night are of equal length. Also, either of the 2 points in the sky where the ecliptic, the Sun's annual pathway, the Sun's annual pathway and the celestial equator intersect. In the northern hemisphere, the autumnal equinox falls about September 22 or 23. As the Sun crosses the celestial equator going south. And in the southern hemisphere, the equinox occurs on March 20 or 21, when the Sun moves north across the celestial equator. And according to the astronomical definition of the seasons, the autumnal equinox also marks the beginning of autumn, which lasts until the winter solstice, December 21 or 22 in the northern hemisphere and June 20 or 21 in the southern hemisphere. Now come to page number 12. 3 months later, the North Pole is leaning as far as it can away from the Sun. This day is called the Winter Solstice and it usually falls on December 21, as in figure 2.7. It will be winter in the northern hemisphere and summer in the southern hemisphere. The reverse will take place in June. Students, what is the winter solstice? Winter solstice is the winter solstice occurs when one of the Earth's poles has its maximum tilt away from the sun. The winter solstice occurs when one of the Earth's poles has its maximum tilt away from the sun, and it happens twice yearly. It happens twice yearly, once in each hemisphere, northern and southern. For that hemisphere, the winter solstice is the day with the shortest period of daylight and longest night of the year, when the sun is at its lowest daily maximum elevation in the sky. And at the pole, there is continuous darkness or twilight around the winter solstice. Around 21st March is the Vernal Aquanax, spring equinox. Both hemispheres receive equal amount of sunlight. Neither hemisphere is leaning towards the sun. You now see that the movements of the earth are closely connected to our lives. If the earth was to remain stationary, there will be no day or night, nor will there be different seasons. With this understanding, perhaps you will view the earth differently now and appreciate it better. Our earth is indeed a very special planet. Students, what is the Vernal Aquanax? Winter is tough in many parts of the world. It's tough on the wildlife and it's tough on us. It's also tough on our wallet because of heating costs. But winter doesn't last forever, and eventually the cold, harsh weather gives way to the warmer, sunnier days of spring. What makes this happen? The answer is twofold: the Earth's tilt on its axis and its revolution around the sun. These two factors combine to pull us out of winter and into spring, which begins on the vernal aquanax. The vernal aquanax is a point in time when the sun's rays cross directly over the earth's equator and provides nearly equal periods of day and night in both hemispheres. The word Aquanax literally means equal night. How the vernal aquanax works? To help you understand how the vernal aquanax works, refer to the illustration below. Tilt and revolution of the earth. Seasons depicted for the northern hemisphere are fall, front, winter, right, spring, back, summer, left. This image shows the earth at various points during its orbit around the sun. These 4 points represent the beginnings of our 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Remember how we'd previously mentioned that 2 things cause seasonal change. Those 2 things are the Earth's revolution and tilt. Revolution is the Earth's orbit around the sun, and tilt is the Earth's slant on its axis. In this illustration, the Earth is shown on its tilt while revolving around the sun. Now open your workbook, page number 5. Exercise number 2, the Earth's revolution. The diagram below shows the positions of the Earth as it revolves around the sun. Fill in the table below with information about the Earth's revolution and the resulting changes in the seasons in a year. The diagram will help you with the required information. Day, the latitude which the sun is overhead at, the hemisphere that leans towards the sun, season in the northern hemisphere, season in the southern hemisphere. 21st December, the latitude which the sun is overhead at, northern, the hemisphere, southern, season, winter, and season in the southern hemisphere, summer. On 21st March, the latitude which the sun is overhead at, northern, the hemisphere that leans towards the sun, southern. Season in the northern hemisphere, spring. Season in the southern hemisphere, autumn. On 21st June, the latitude which the sun is overhead at, southern. The hemisphere that leans towards the sun, northern. Season in the northern hemisphere, summer. Season in the southern hemisphere, winter. On 23rd September, the latitude is southern. The hemisphere that leans towards the sun is northern. Season in the northern hemisphere is autumn, and season in the southern hemisphere is spring. So students, you have to write in the respective blocks here according to the information given. So this is your lesson. Thank you for listening. Take care. Allah Hafiz.